one of the most important things we should look for is how the space of marketing is changing beyond the new technology stuff, right? Like, so for example, are we doing everything with AI? We could, but what is happening with all the other stuff that B2B marketers used to do, right? How are they transforming the way they are doing celebrity endorsements, sponsorships, events, physical print advertising? Is all of that just going away? No.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Zaman Studios. We are here with yet another episode. Uh, this is a three-part series, and we are discussing about the latest trends in the world of B2B marketing that are happening today. We have got Manish here with us, a seasoned marketer. And let's continue our discussion from the last time. If you have not watched our previous episode, I would highly recommend that you go to the first one, watch, see the new trends, and then come back here. So we'll get started, Manish.
Hey, Akash, we had a lot of fun discussing
Yeah.
a bunch of trends last time in B2B marketing. In my belief, by the time people see this, there might be more trends. The space is moving so fast. But what I really wanted to touch upon is last time we focused on how new tech like AI, especially generative AI,
Yeah.
and the presence of data and is really fundamentally transforming how B2B marketers can actually create personas, hyper personalized content beyond personas to individuals, make human content, and also use a lot of content, but they should do it with intelligence, with depth, and not just, bombard people with AI content. But, one of the most important things we should look for is how the space of marketing is changing beyond the new technology stuff, right? Like, so for example, are we doing everything with AI? We could, but what is happening with all the other stuff that B2B marketers used to do, right? How are they transforming the way they are doing celebrity endorsements, sponsorships, events, physical print advertising? Is all of that just going away? No. So today we'll talk about how the physical and somewhat more traditional space of B2B marketing is transforming, both in terms of new things within their own trends and the impact of digital and fact-based, data-based environment. How's that transforming that?
Right.
And I think that if you are looking at figuring out how to do some of the traditional marketing in a more transformative phase, this is the session that we talk about that.
Yes.
Okay, so I think that in just continuing with the trend of fours,
Yeah.
we'll talk about four trends today. One is, in the world of B2B, you shouldn't just talk to the customer, but talk to everyone who's influencing the customer. And you can create influencers. We all know influencer collaborations have been big in B2C. They're becoming very big in B2B.
So this is a
Right.
celebrity endorsement thing that you were talking
Well,
about.
so the world of celebrities works in
Right.
B2C,
Yes.
and
It's a
people
parallel
moved
to
from
that.
celebrity endorsement in B2C to Instagram influencers in B2C, right? Well, here you go. B2B is not much behind. We have influencers in B2B.
Yes.
And the B2B influencers can also be on Instagram, but they can be on LinkedIn. They can directly do it or indirectly do it. A whole trend of influencers.
Yes.
There's another trend of actually taking physical world B2B advertisements or B2B content and adding a layer of digital experiences that pop up from there, right? So you have QR codes and a bunch of other things that are happening so that the physical experience is becoming digital and vice versa. So there's the word that has been doing the rounds for a long time is phygital, but it is becoming a lot more intense. And we'll talk about that. The
And
third
I
thing,
think AR and VR, they are also adding some.
yeah, all of
more-
this has been
Yeah.
around for some time,
Mm.
but I mean, AR and VR and XR has been terms that have been doing the rounds in the B2C space for gaming, etc., for nearly 15, 20 years now. But they're making a real entry into the B2B space now. So that whole world of phygital, right, is becoming very important for B2B. Okay. The third thing I want to talk about is the most important space that B2B people do marketing is in events and experience centers. And how are they transforming? How are they, the term I'd like to use, how is their shelf life increasing? How are you ensuring that the event doesn't just end on the day of the event ending, right? That's the third trend, which is, increasing the shelf life of events and experience centers. And then the fourth trend I want to talk about is sponsorships. Yeah, B2B guys are doing more and more sponsorships. This used to be the haven of B2C guys, right? You'd advertise on a game show if you know that people were watching television, right? But interestingly, you'll see B2B guys doing that. Now, it's not new. It's not new. Accenture has done it for the longest period of time. And in the West, IBM and Accenture have done that in there. But it's becoming a trend that's becoming more important, explicitly because events don't die on the day of the event now. Because they are stretching in there. So there is a second order effect of B2B being very, very B2C in the social media world, that you can do so many B2C things on B2B. So 4 core trends, okay? Influencer marketing, digital marketing, event, and sponsorships. Let's talk about those.
Sure.
Okay. Influencer collaborations, right? Like you would have seen that happen a whole lot in many, many B2C environments, right? How is that actually helping in B2B marketing? Is an important thing. Now, in B2C, we typically do emotional marketing, like buy my chocolate, it's lovely, it tastes well. In B2B, we actually do in-depth thought leadership-based marketing, right? Like we say, come to this particular cloud provider because they have higher quality security, they have easy recovery, they have much better,
cybersecurity protections.
Or much better dashboards for people to actually use all their functionality. So those kinds of things are more important in B2B. Highly intense selection methods, right? Influencer marketing in B2C is about talking about emotions. Influencer marketing in B2B is about talking about these functionalities from experts. These influencers are not enjoying only. They're talking like they're enjoying, but they are talking with data in depth. And that's the most important trends. And, people figured this maybe a couple of years ago when they started using influencers to talk about things like sustainability, for example, which is an emotional aspect, right? Are you taking care of the country? Are you taking care of the world? Are you taking care of labor rules and practices? But when they saw that the whole influencer marketing was actually impacting B2B decisions, they moved into expert areas. The engineers are now influencers, right? Engineer influence. In some sense, people are doing that mostly literally, right? Like this example from IBM is fabulous, right? They created micro influencers. Now you'll notice certain CTOs and experts are already writing papers on them, right? And there's this, there's a bunch of them that write about the latest advances and stuff. Some of them are already influencers and some of them can become. So IBM ran this program where they took experts in cloud computing, artificial intelligence, blockchain, things like that, and asked them to create educational content on Instagram. Now, you know that there is a lot of SciTubers, right? Like Veritasium. I'm not talking about just those A-lister influencers. I'm talking about people who are industry experts. So, for example, IBM actually asked these guys to come across and become influencers. LinkedIn started this in marketing, right? So LinkedIn is a hardcore B2B example. They have started giving LinkedIn influencer tags, and they have asked those people. So LinkedIn done it, and IBM has then started doing it. GE is doing it. GE has invited these influencers on an Insta walk. And that's a funny thing. That's like they're saying, come and take a walk through our facilities that people can't go to, like an aviation facility of GE, right? But if an influencer who's, like a physics girl would do, a walk to the Hadron Collider, That's how all of us see Hadron Collider, right? Like the Hadron Collider is not
It's not
something you
open to
can is
everyone.
yeah. So Gene took a leaf from these side tubers and made some very well known, although very niche people who are influencers and did a walk of their facilities on Insta like that. Now that's an interesting way. You're using influencers. Sometimes you're even creating influencers, and it's actually a matter of respect for these people, right?
Yeah.
Like for example, the IBM influencers who were invited to be IBM influencers went boldly and told people that I have been respected as an IBM influencer.
I've been chosen
I've been chosen, right? So
Yeah.
these influencers are very thankful to explicitly say that.
Yeah.
And that's so it's not all A-list influencers with like 10 million following. We're talking about influencers who are very niche, focused on cloud computing, things like that. That's becoming a very good trend.
But Manish, I have one question on this. Let's say there is an influencer who says that I'm so happy I've been chosen by IBM. And then this guy or lady, they talk something nice about the products that IBM has. What is the impact? Do you think that the audience are going to be very trusting of this person, or will they be wondering, has IBM paid them? It's not just about IBM.
There's no
just,
doubt that influencers are sometimes paid and sometimes not. Right? And the influencers have generally started being very clear about that. If they are paid, they'll write, this is a paid promotion.
Yes.
Right? So the IBM once clearly said, I have been chosen as an influencer. So it's out there. However, the influencers have done a very good job. They are actually improving their credibility than paid celebrities. So when you see a paid celebrity drive, let's say a Toyota or a Hyundai, you know that they are only doing it for the ad.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
You know that their first car is a BMW or a Beamer or a Bentley, right? So you don't really buy that. You know that this brand is rich enough to afford say a Shah Rukh Khan or a Tom Cruise. That doesn't mean that Tom Cruise or Shah Rukh Khan is driving that car. Influencers are somewhat different. They typically choose the brands that they themselves use.
Okay.
Right? So even though they are paid for it, because they should be paid for giving their platform, their content is generally researched by them. Okay. They're not reading a script. Right? And that is well understood because they are already influencers in the same topic. Right? They're not jumping from one brand category to another. A cloud computing guy is already a CTO of cloud computing somewhere, or already a researcher in cloud computing somewhere, and then he's talking about it. So they are thought leaders in their own right. Plus, they have small niche viewers, which are what matter in B2B, right? But it's not a very small number, right? Like, campaigns reach millions of viewers. There is this campaign that reached 3.5 million unique viewers, 200,000 engagement. That is not a very small number in the world of B2B.
No, absolutely
right?
not.
And such people would typically do research, provide data. The content is not just emotional. The influencers are presenting it with joy.
Yes.
But their content is very analytical.
It has all the details that you would typically look for.
Yeah. How do I say this to you? Like, for example, the Cisco Champions program, right? Now, Cisco has always been recruiting people from the overall ecosystem. There has been a certification, the network professional and the network beginner. They have all of that. So naturally, they are in the business of certifying who is a networking expert.
Yes.
Right? So when in their champions program, they are going to people who are their experts, right? And asking them to be on a podcast, create video content. There is a natural expectation that people who are on a Cisco verified thing, it's okay. They are the people who have already written the right method for certifying a networking professional. Now they choose an expert. It's like a two-way thing. The influencer gets the benefit of being chosen, and the brand, the B2B brand like Cisco in this case, gets promoted because of the collaboration that the influencer is having.
Right.
It's not a tenuous link like a celebrity has to a B2C brand, right? So while the whole notion of celebrity and influencer comes from B2C, it has become a lot more solidified in B2B.
Correct. And the viewer knows that whoever is talking is if he's if this guy is certified by Cisco,
Mhm.
and this guy knows what he is talking about. He's not just saying anything or reading a script. He
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
knows
The
this.
word is more promoted here. The certifications are generally for more like, hey, are you a Cisco certified network professional?
Yeah.
That's like a test.
Hmm.
Here they are taking people who are, I mean, maybe they are also not certified professionals, but they
Yeah.
are experts. They're top of their game,
Achha.
right? And those are the people who are talking about Cisco's innovations. They are evaluating Cisco rather than being evaluated by Cisco.
Yeah.
But it is a very respectable, nobody's scratching each other's back here, right?
Okay.
They are doing a valid evaluation,
Okay.
right? And they are doing it in a community that knows what a valid evaluation is versus not.
Yeah.
So they cannot just go and say, oh, I love Cisco because, it's such a good product.
Hmm.
They have to go deep and say, look at the, the bandwidth that they can handle. Each port is secured by software defined protocol. Their protocols are better. Here's why it is better. This is the testing we have done. Look at the comparisons on this and that test. You'll typically see, like say if somebody is, for example, I'll give you the example of weights and biases is a very nice platform for analyzing your AI content.
Okay.
Right? It's always promoted by a guy who runs a very nice channel called 2 Minute Papers.
Okay.
Every time he presents weights and biases, it is in relation to the content paper that he's presenting that time.
Gotcha.
Right? So it'll be, here's how weights and biases performed against others. So it's actually an analysis, right? Very similar to how people analyze televisions, which is a consumer product. A television, when a television influencer talks about an LED screen, they'll actually do tons of tests. These guys do tons of tests on the products that they are doing. Right. So it's not just, I like it so. But then there is a power of celebrity as well. Like, let's not misunderstand that there are some really powerful celebrities in the world of B2B as well. Like Walter Isaacson, for example.
Yeah.
It's the guy who has been invited to write biographies of Elon Musk and Steve Jobs and, written one on Leonardo da Vinci, who obviously must not have invited, yes. I guess. Yeah. Right? That one right there. Right. In my view, if a Walter Isaacson talks about a company like Dell, he must have chosen. He's not just getting paid for it. Right? Absolutely. And that elevates the status of Dell to the status of innovators, like the kind who has written about. Yes. And he is a celebrity in his own right. He's CNN CEO, the guy who's written all these books.
So he has his own network and it gets pushed to his network.
It's almost like a co-branding thing, right? Yeah. It's like Dell and Walter Isaacson together bring the Trailblazers podcast. The Trailblazers podcast. Right. Yes. And that adds value to both, but clearly it adds more value to Dell in this situation. So that's great marketing for them. Absolutely. And now since Walter Isaacson always chooses innovators and thought leaders, Dell looks like an innovator and thought leader, which they must have all original reasons to be. But then their brand is getting promoted. So it's a very good tool. Yes, absolutely. Huh? Cool. So, this, you might say, why is this a trend now? I'll say it because with all of these physical and traditional marketing things that we have, I'm bringing them up here because while you could have done influencers in the past too, today the reach is enhanced. Because of the technology. Because of the technology, yes. Right? Yes. And I also think there's another reason. It's not happening on traditional media. It's not happening on television. No. Right? It's on social media. Yeah. And sometimes these things get featured on television because television needs them now. Right. And I think another reason is that videos have become more popular, more consumable formats than writing and all. Yeah. So the podcasts are video formats, but they are on YouTube. You can choose to read the transcript if you want. Yes. Right? So they are fast consumption possible as well. But the whole influencer builds their own brand separately as an expert. Yes. And then a company comes and says, can you as an expert evaluate me? And then that evaluation is done very logically. So it's a nice way of presenting this stuff. Yes. Right? And I think more and more B2B companies, anything that they are in, should do that. Right? Like I have seen influencers explain 5 different battery technologies. How is a sodium ion battery actually better in energy density, but it has a problem with weight? But how is a solid state battery coming up? I've seen people talk about enhancements in turbines, enhancements in thread counts, enhancements in faster way of DNA sequencing and CRISPR testing. So it's not limited to just IT.
Yes.
Right. It could be in any B2B, especially if you are not trading, if you are building something, then it really helps. Right. So that's one trend. Let's talk about another one.
And before we move on, do you think that this trend is going to continue, increase?
Oh, I think it's going to really catch fire. I think it's very logical for a company that is in the process of selling something to have a third party expert explain that thing.
Yeah.
And then if they explain it in comparison to something else and they genuinely win, it is what Gartners and Forsters used to do earlier, right?
Okay.
A third party validation done in an agnostic manner.
Right.
Now influencers make it fun.
Right.
It's easier to see an influencer video than to deeply read a Gartner report, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes.
So it's going to catch up, I think.
Oh.
It's already catching up. I mean, IBM is not saying no to Gartner. I guess they're still in all Gartner magic quadrants, but they are doing this influencer strategy.
Yes.
Right? So yeah, it's catching up, and I think it's going to just spread all over to all B2B marketing.
Right. All right, let's move on to the next one.
Okay, so the next one is a very simple one. We have seen physical advertising, we have seen physical brochures, we have seen physical content, and we have seen digital. And typically these campaigns have been run parallelly. Almost marketing departments in B2B companies have a digital department and a physical department almost, right?
They're working not together, but then separately, their own paths, their own goals and targets.
Right, yeah. In the COVID brought the money more to the marketing digital department.
Right.
But when that went off, it's going back, right? So there's this Gartner report where they're saying CMOs want to spend 70% of their funds in offline channels, right? Now this is sounds like it is a big thing, but just go about 15 years ago, where 100% used to be offline
digital
channels.
did not exist.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, too early on, right?
Yes.
And people started doing the physical and lesser and lesser, and digital more and more. But digital was still not that expensive, so it's becoming expensive. And then you get the COVID and lockdowns, and everything goes digital.
Yeah.
Right. And so now it's coming back, but it isn't just coming back in the old manner. It's coming back in a manner that the physical work and the digital work are actually working very well together. The term that we have been using for a long time is omni-channel. But what has changed, Akash, is that it used to be, let us make one common plan. I'll do my physical stuff, you digital stuff, and then we meet somewhere and see our stuff, and then we do one time. Now it's almost like everything has to have physical and digital. If you are doing a print campaign, put a QR code on it so that people can actually hop on from that print campaign to your website, or actually see a VR thing on your thing. The VR one is not yet fully caught on. I think the VR goggles, etc., that are coming up, some of the new releases, the one that came from Google recently, the Mohan one is very nice. I mean, I don't know when we'll get a chance to put our hand on that. I mean, I got to see the Apple one, which is amazing. But
it has its own limitations.
Well, it's I don't know if people are ever going to wear and move around with that, right?
Even I think the same. Mass adoption is not very easy.
There is actually a few that so the Google one is actually like a glass, right? And it's the new version of Google Glass, so they call it Mohan, I think. Mohan or something like that.
Samsung has also come up with its own version.
So people have noticed how the Ray-Ban glasses from Facebook is catching on.
Yes. Right.
So they are doing that. So you are going to get some assistance in the physical world with digital data. That is going to happen for sure. So the marketers are trying to bring them together. Some of their things are just hop on from a physical thing to a digital thing in your cell phone, right? And that's very common, right? So, I would say that more and more this is going to happen. Some of the things are very simple, like say you go to an experience center, you're seeing something on a screen, and you can tap on that, and you're seeing something on like a physical thing, like a but on a component. Let's say you're seeing a physical turbine or an EV charging, and they'll give you a digital thing to wear, and you can see it working, right? So they create so those kind of things people are doing in controlled environments like events, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But
that's so exciting, actually.
Yeah, it's quite fun actually. See, if you are going to a place and you want to see how a turbine works, I mean, you really don't have to see a turbine work with extremely high temperatures and a furnace running behind it. You can see it in a convenient place nowadays. So that whole omni-channel, right? You're jumping from physical to digital is happening a lot more, and it's happening by design rather than by, I guess, a distribution of budgets, right? So when Gartner says 70% will go to physical, I'm wondering, where is the line? All the physical is hopping onto digital in any case. You give people a brochure. Like, for example, we are going to do these events, like, for example, Indian Mobile Congress, right? People will give you a brochure. But do they expect you to take the brochure home? No. They expect you to take the brochure, have a look at it, scan the QR code, and read the QR code later, right? You need the physical, because the physical contact surfaces you away from all the brochures that exist in the digital world.
Correct.
Just like a human message makes your AI message better. Just like that.
It grabs your attention. For that.
It grabs your attention. You get a chance to touch and feel something, right?
Yes.
So it's different. But you don't have to keep the physical catalog. You don't have to store it. It hops onto digital once it has your attention, right? Educational content, for example, works way better because of that. You can tell people by 5 diagrams how your certain things you can't even show them in physical, right? Like, how will you show a discharging battery? But you can create a 3D model of it. So you have a battery, right? But when you scan that thing, it takes you to a website. The same battery is now showing you how its discharge cycle is happening.
Videos and animations.
Animation videos that otherwise you would have seen separately. Now you're seeing it when you're seeing the battery.
Right. And
so
the
that
mind
continuous.
Is able to connect to that. The mind
exactly.
is able to connect this battery with the animation that it is saying. So
that's
a more
then there is the double screen method. So you can be sitting in a session where a thought leader is talking about something, a case study or something, right? And at the same time, they're doing a questionnaire there. So you are actually responding to them. So it's a physical experience that you are in a room with an event, but you are digitally interacting with the guy. You're sending him a questionnaire, they're doing a survey. And in the meantime, so there's a second. We have had this in the world of pure digital as a second screen. You're watching a movie and you are seeing who's the actor in the movie. But now it's happening in a physical world.
And you feel connected to the person more in the physical world. And so the responses are also more,
and there can also be a call to action in this. So for example, you're sitting in a meeting room and there's a roundtable discussion happening, right? Everyone's out there. Some of them will actually put a little QR code in front of them. You see this person is saying that, you connect with them right there digitally, and you can send them a request, an RFP right there. It's like there and goes straight into their Salesforce, right? And this is being done more and more often now. So you can see distant campaigns like broadcast campaigns, right? Airport having a print with a QR code, newspaper or trade magazine having a print with a QR code. But you can also do it in physical contact. You are meeting me, and instead of you and I just chatting, and I'm sitting in a room with 20 people, I can connect quickly, and I'll send you a request, and it enters your Salesforce, enters my Salesforce, right? So this whole thing of campaigns, whether it's in-person campaign or distant print campaign or television campaign or even hoardings, actually have these things going on right now. You can have a hoarding with a VR activated thing, and you see that, and all of a sudden the hoarding goes live. I've seen some of those.
So I remember the last time when we were there at Bihar Museum, there were all those screens. They were touch screens, and they had content related to whatever the section was on. Suppose there was a section on Mughal art and or Egyptian art, and they had all these interactive screens where they would be asking questions and quizzes. It really felt so engaging.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's an experience center environment, right? So you could
Yeah.
do the same thing. So certainly museums and B2C actually picked it up earlier. Even in the B2B world, an experience center would actually have. So, for example, if you are going to show someone how is optical fiber made, you can have a big imagery of that. But if you touch it, it shows you how it's happening. A real picture comes up. That kind of stuff existed in controlled environment. It has moved from control to open environment. I can send you a brochure, and when you see that brochure, there's a QR code, and it will take you straight to the digital experience of that. Right. So that's lovely. That's happening. This is the other example of did you do print in the past? Do it with digital. Enhance your physical with digital. That's what digital experience is. Many different ways this is happening, right? Let's go more specifically into the one that you are talking about, which is the experiential marketing, right? Experiential marketing in the world of B2B has been fundamentally two things: experience centers and large format events, or even small format events. These things had a huge benefit of being high involvement, right? So you actually meet the CTO here. You meet the CPO here. You're not writing an email. It's not distant.
It's one to one.
It's one to one. It's high engagement. You're not disconnected or just pitching your product. You're having a coffee. You're discussing about the weather. All of that stuff is happening. It's extremely important to see that events were so loved that when COVID took it away, when it came back, it has come back with a bang. All the events are really full. People are trying to go there, but there is a shelf life issue with these things. So it's between 1st and 5th of April. Okay, 6th April, you all go back home. You have to kind of punch in all the cards you got, send emails and stuff back like that. And that impact, that joy peters away. Right?
People tend to forget it. Out of sight, out of mind. Unless there are a few who were able to build connections.
That's how events
And that's a very small percentage.
Even the ones who build connection will have to make an effort to come back to it. It was not natural. This is fundamentally changing. Events are now becoming source of generating content. And a lot of it's being done by AI, by the way. So people, they can plan the events much better. So there's pre-event, at event, and post-event. Right? And pre-event, you are actually doing all the stuff we talked about last time. Personalized agenda. Right? Connecting person A to person B based on matching. That is of their personas. Right?
Interest.
So you're generating networking opportunities. Right? If you found seven similar groupings happening, you create an event and say, okay, here's where all the people who are interested in sustainability related to optical fibers should meet, right? So you create scanning of the people in there, and that data is creating these opportunities of networking. Networking is the top motivator of going into events, right? So everyone nowadays is going to events not with those kind of tags, but with a phone app. The fact that the phone app has their entry passes and everything, right, also means that when they are here, when they're going, what they are interested in, what they have seen, is all data now, right?
And
now that data
app gives recommendations of who you should meet, like you said. I think it's a matchmaking. So the chances of that connection lasting after the event is over, I think that also increases a lot, like you said.
Absolutely, but please remember, the app is never over.
The app is never over,
right? So post facto, if you have designed a good app, you'll say, you guys connected, something good happened, here's a email to connect you to with a nice thing that one of our, it could be a promotion content or something like that, but you keep the thing alive. Right, so you can have a
targeted, because if I got just 2 hours to be at an event, then I want to meet people who are very useful or relevant to my interests.
So it can focus you, but it can also remind you.
It can also
right?
remind.
So
Yes.
pre-event is focusing,
Yes.
creating excitement, telling someone you meet this person on this topic, they'll like it. You guys so go together to this session that's happening. So session choices are also very important. Too many things happening, right?
Yeah.
Right? And if they found something reasonable, the marketing department can take, okay, Akash would have loved to know about how quantum computing will impact telecom.
Yeah.
Right? Because he went to the quantum computing company and they met and talked about it, and he's from telecom. I have a snippet that happened in this particular session where the Microsoft guys were debating with the, Palo Alto guys about how their quantum computing chip, Majorana, is going to change cybersecurity. Right. And this is going to be implemented at the telecom touch points. Oh, I've got something that Akash should be interested in. Take a snippet, automatically send it to him. And also send it to 4 other people who are interested, saying, why don't you guys talk about this? It was lovely to have you at our event. Another example of hyper personalization. Hyper personalization, but not for just something that is being sent to one guy. Yeah. It's actually hyper personalization and grouping, creating an event. Right? The event did not die at the event; it continues to live on. Right. That is the beauty of what you can do with the event. Right. And if I meet people and if our connection happens to last for a long time, I will remember that. Yeah, we met at that particular event, and exactly. I would like to go back there, and I'll tell other people. Even if you forget, the app can remind you. It can remind you. Right? Yeah. And you can act like you didn't forget. Yeah, you can't forget. So there's no embarrassment happening here, right? Right. And there are topics that people really want to know, right? So, for example, everyone will say, I'm very interested in sustainability. Yeah. But did you go to the right sustainability sessions or not? You don't know. So it'll create a little session for you. Like, here is how this company is doing on sustainability. And since you were interested, we thought you would love to know. Yeah. Right? It'll by the way, events are working very hard to be sustainable themselves these days. Yes. Right. There's this whole debate about not using paper. Yes. Well, lovely. You're physical and not paper. What does that make? It's digital. Right. Yes. So events are becoming digital. You're moving around with their styles. You can. Some of them are writing, "Here's your carbon footprint" and stuff like that. So it's actually becoming interesting. And I wanted to take a move from event experiences to experience centers. Okay. Now, this is actually a very important thing to think of. Because we talked about at events, when you come in, your whole objective at events is a marketing thing. You are either looking for leads or becoming a lead. Yeah. Right? That's your event objective, right? You're doing it under the guise of education and all of that. But at the end, it's networking. And what is networking? Networking means eventually I want to buy or sell something, right? Yeah. But when you go to an experience center, that's not your intent. Your intent is more education. Yes. You know that you are not. You know that you are already in their lead database. I mean, you don't get to somebody's experience center without that. But how is that experience center living beyond your visit to the experience center? Right? That's actually happening because once you go there, you see certain things. People are sending that stuff back to you, or they're informing you in video, they're informing you on, or the experience center app is now not just inside the experience center, but it's also available on the web. So things like that are being done. The experiences and the events are now having a larger shelf life than the visit. They continue even after you've left. That's the main trend. Yeah. It's such a large investment that used to get used only in a few days. Now it's being used beyond that. Yes, right? Bigger bang for your mind. Post-event connection, post-event grouping, yes, post-event posts, social media posts all the time, right? And given that it's all digital, you're able to calculate how many people came, how many people saw what. I'm still far away from getting event ROI well managed, but you're moving from an event to a social media post to a Salesforce entry. People now know that this is coming from the event. Otherwise, they would have lost connection to the event. Right. So there's tracking happening there. We talked about 3 core physical things that are becoming, influencer marketing, digital advertising, and events. I want to talk about one of the most important and old methods of marketing, right, that have been there. And even this one is very much alive and it's spreading a lot because of the data and digital readiness of it now. Sponsorships,
Sponsorships, yes.
right?
Yeah.
B2B guys have been doing sponsorships, but only a few.
Hmm.
Only companies that were B2B but wanted to be a B2C brand as well. You'll take example, for example, IBM would you do it, right? Um, I would say Accenture would do it, right? But so many other products did not, right? So IBM was also a consumer brand
Yes.
because you had IBM laptops, so they had that. Cisco was also sometimes a consumer brand because they had those phones.
Routers and all those things.
Routers are never a consumer brand. Nobody buys routers. But Cisco phones were there on consumer desks, so people knew them, right? But companies like VMware, Oracle, right? They have wanted to be known by consumers to create a focused brand presence beyond just the how it helps is because at the end of the day, like we talked about, even your CTOs are consumers, but they want to know if the brand I'm going to invest in is well known, respected or not. Now you could do that with advertising, but now you want to do it with sponsorships of things like events because they reach a lot more than people who are at the sponsored event.
Okay.
Right? So, for example, IBM will sponsor the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone watches it at the NHL. But even if they don't watch it, it's in the news, it's coming into social media. So, there's a lot more of that happening.
Right. And it's also possible that a lot of people in the B2B industry, the decision makers, they are also fans of all these sports. So they would also see that IBM is there. Or
sports has always been something that people want to sponsor. B2B guys are sponsoring because this whole realization that eventually B2B decision makers are also humans.
Yes.
And the second thing is that they know that the reach has gone up because of digital.
Yes.
Right. So this is a trend that I wouldn't put as a trend that has totally changed things, but it is still there. It will be there. The value of just pure awareness of the brand is still very valuable. And sometimes you can bring out the emotional messages that are important. So, for example, if you want to come across as a sustainable company, it's much better to do it in a public event type situation. The other one is there are certain events that are actually very important for senior leaders. The marathons are clearly one of those, right? You see, as people go senior, I hope at some point all of the people seeing here go senior enough that they have all the grunt work being done by the team members, and then the CEO can actually go to the marathon, different places, and golfing events, for example. Those events are designed for senior executives.
Yes.
And if you think of that, sponsoring such events becomes a very good B2B marketing strategy. TCS has been doing that for the marathon, the TCS marathon. There's so many such examples. I mean, the one that comes to my mind is mostly marathon, but there are golfing ones that Accenture does, for example. Right? So sponsorships are here to stay, and they spread more because of the digital reach.
And it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and then sports have global appeal.
Yeah.
So if you want to go global, you can. I mean, most sports have global appeals, right? If you want to be well known in the cricketing countries, just go and sponsor the
and I'm thinking
IPL.
I'm thinking that if I'm let's say an executive and I have a soft spot for a particular sport, and if I see a brand advertising there, then there's going to be some spot inside my mind for that brand because
exactly, it's an awareness campaign.
An association happens because I like the sport, I like this brand. Maybe subconsciously, but it is going to be there.
So, we wanted to talk today about things that were always trends.
Yeah.
But how are they actually coming more and more into B2B, and how the presence of digital spread is making them now more relevant for B2B marketing.
Yes.
Like we talked last time, B2B marketing is now becoming more and more like B2C marketing. There is data, there is social media reach, and therefore we can see some of the older trends, celebrities becoming influencers,
Yeah.
sponsorships becoming important, physical stuff becoming enhanced by digital, events staying beyond their event timeline.
Yes.
These are some interesting ways the traditional B2B marketing has become more and more enhanced, and these are the trends for today.
Awesome. So I think this was yet another fantastic discussion. It was very informative and engaging. Um, my dear audience, viewers, what are your thoughts? What have you experienced? And any opinions that you have, please share with us in the comments. And please do keep watching this space for the third and final episode of this series. Until then, goodbye.